caused trouble in their life. He had questioned what they were doing. And they were glad because now he would be gone. No longer would his presence cause them trouble. But there were lots of others who were just kind of bystanders. They were the ones who had kind of watched, maybe a bit from a distance. And they didn't quite know what to do with this occasion. They came to watch the spectacle. And they saw the 3 crosses, the 2 criminals with the signs. The regulation was that you were to put the charge above the head of each criminal. And on the criminal on the left, it said robbery. On the criminal on the right, it said robbery. But above Jesus, it said King of the Jews. The people who came and watched this unfold had heard the stories about Jesus. They had heard the story, maybe a couple of them were even there, when Jesus encountered the prostitute woman. And they watched as Jesus, as they were ready, the crowd was ready to stone her. Jesus said, "Wait, I see good in this woman. She is not just a public sinner, but she is really a child of God." And they heard a story about Zacchaeus. We all know that story of the short man who climbed a tree to see Jesus. And Zacchaeus came down from that tree. And again, the people looked upon him as a tax collector, a worthless man. And Jesus said, no, wait a minute. This man is a son of Abraham. And I'm going to go to his house and be his guest. Basically saying, Zacchaeus, you are important in my kingdom. And that sense of kingdom began to grow in the people. I don't think they probably understood it. And yet their sense that somehow Jesus was creating something new. Not a political structure, even though that's kind of what they were looking for, but his kingdom was something else. But for those people who were standing watching this crucifixion, it became seemingly hopeless. They watched as his mangled body hanged there, and they wondered, where is the hope? And we know it kept getting darker and darker, even though it was 3 o'clock. But then the event happened that is described in today's gospel. The one robber he was watching Jesus through all of this, and he's hanging there at his side, staring at his face. And he begins to understand a bit about the kingdom that Jesus was establishing, that it was not of this world. And he began to see the goodness in Jesus, who wasn't fighting back, but humbly receiving his call this time. And it began to change his heart. He began to want to be near Jesus. He began to want to be a part of his kingdom. And it changed him. He wanted a life with God. And he knew he needed to turn away from his other ways, his sin. You know, for us in each of our lives right now, we probably also carry some hopelessness. It's pretty easy in today's world when we watch all the things that are going on. Maybe some are struggling for a job or somehow to make finances come together. It seems at times overwhelming. Maybe sometimes we struggle in relationships and we don't know where to go. It seems that the other person does not want to change, and hope for some kind of good resolution seems far away.
And then even within our own selves, it's pretty easy at times to feel as if we have no direction. We do not know what the hope of this world is. And maybe the key today is like that robber and what he did. He began by just looking at the face of Jesus, by just watching and seeing the goodness that was in him. And it restored some sense of faith in not only humanity, but in the presence that was beyond this world, a kingdom that we could not see even now. But that little awareness that began to change his heart then made him able to reach out even to his mate, who obviously wasn't open to receive it, but he offered another way. I think it gives us really a sign of what we need to do is really to draw near to the face of Jesus these days, to consider each day in our lives his presence, and really to recognize the humanity that he lived and the goodness that his presence was and is in our lives. And if we carry that in us, we allow God's kingdom, in a sense, to have a little place in our hearts. It will begin to affect our relationships. And we too, maybe in a marriage, we will be able to recognize in our spouse a goodness that maybe we've not seen in a while. And we can say, you know, you mean everything to me, and your presence helps me each day. It is your goodness, really, that has made us come to be a married couple. Or maybe in a friend, we begin to say, you know, the way that we share and stay faithful to each other has blessed me. And I see a great amount of goodness in you. Probably also has a way even of allowing us to see goodness in our world. When things appear pretty dark and hopeless, there are signs, if we look in this world, that reveal each day a beauty and a goodness that goes beyond ourselves. So today, as we celebrate Christ as King, we trust again the presence of the kingdom being formed within us, within each of our lives, that allows us a sense of hope and direction, hoping that someday we can reach the kingdom that is established beyond. It is that which brings us hope and the ability to pray in great faith this morning.